The flower against the wind at the end of the tide. Chapter 1, The Legend of a Foolish Girl. Haiqing Village is a remote fishing village hidden on the east coastline. The village is small, there is no electric light, and the sun rises and rests at sunset. Everyone in the village knew that there lived a strange girl in the hut at the south end of the village, Ling Ling. A few years ago, Ling Ling had a high fever that did not go away, and the old people in the village said that she had been burned into a fool, and she had become less talkative, and she was no longer as well behaved as before. But no one expected that this fool would become more and more lively, catching the sea on the beach barefoot every day. No matter how strong the wind and waves, wind and rain, she was always alone, scooping clams, and even eating abalone and yellow croaker that the villagers sold to make money. Some people laughed at her for being wasteful, and some people ridiculed her for being stupid, but Ling Ling smiled, like a daughter of the sea, free. Chapter 2, The Secrets of the Tides. One evening, Ling Ling found an injured sea turtle among the rocks at low tide, and she picked it up softly and cared for it. The appearance of sea turtles seems to pull out the hidden secrets of the village. Liu Lao Han, an elder in the village, told Ling Ling that there was an ancient legend hidden in this sea area. The sea god once guarded this sea area, but it was forgotten, and the power of the sea god was sealed in the turtle. Ling Ling's sudden change may be related to the sea god. This made her heart flutter, and she began to try to explore more unsolved mysteries by the sea. Chapter 3 Strange diseases are different from the crowd. Dr. Chen, the village doctor, came to Haiqing Village to investigate Ling Ling's condition, and he found that Ling Ling's blood contained strange elements that made her body extremely strong, and even possessed extraordinary endurance and vitality. The villagers were more and more surprised that this girl, who was considered a fool, was able to eat the most precious abalone in the sea, and was still healthy and energetic. As a result, Ling Ling gradually changed his relationship with the villagers, from being ridiculed to slowly gaining respect. Chapter 4 Love Against the Wind. There was a young fisherman named Jianhao in the village, who didn't understand Ling Ling's strange behavior at first, and even looked down on her. But as time went on, he discovered Ling Ling's strength and innocence, and began to be attracted to her. Jianhao tried to get close to Ling Ling and help her catch the sea and repair the fishing nets together, and the two slowly developed affection. However, their relationship was hindered by the existing forces in the village, especially the Qian family's elders who were not optimistic about Ling Ling and thought she was not suitable. In the face of these obstacles, Ling Ling became more determined to fight for happiness for himself and Jianhao. Chapter 5 The Fish Market. Fishermen in Haiqing Village run a small fish market and make a living off seafood. In this year, a group of foreign merchants attempted to monopolize the fish market and forced villagers to sell seafood at low prices for huge profits. Ling Ling stepped forward, using her instincts and courage to call the villagers to resist. She led everyone to secretly catch seafood at night, providing high-quality fish to the outside market, and successfully broke the monopoly of foreign merchants. This move gradually improved the lives of the villagers, and also made Ling Ling a recognized headwind flower in the village. Chapter 6 The tide rises again, and fate takes a big turn. Just when everything seemed calm, a rare storm hit Haiqing Village, the tide swelled and the waves raged. The villagers were busy preparing for the disaster, but Ling Ling found the sea turtle she had rescued during the storm and led her to find the sea artifact hidden at the bottom of the sea. Ling Ling held the holy relic, and the ability in her body awakened, and she was able to temporarily control the tide and save the whole village. After the storm, the villagers marveled at Ling Ling's transformation, transforming her from a fool to a guardian of the village. Chapter 7, A New Journey. Ling Ling decided to leave Haiqing Village and embark on a journey to find the truth about his background and the power of the sea god. Jianhao firmly followed, and the two shuttled between coastal towns and cities, encountered all kinds of strange people and strange things, and also discovered more secrets about the sea god. Along the way, Ling Ling meets a group of companions who also possess special abilities, and they form a team ready to face greater intrigues and challenges. Chapter 8, Truth Revealed in Conclusion. Ling Ling discovered that she was actually a descendant of the god of the sea, and she was on a mission to protect the peace of the sea. Alien traders and dark forces have long been aware of the existence of sea relics, and have tried to seize power, create a sea disaster, and take control of fishing villages and coasts. After a life-and-death struggle, Ling Ling and his companions finally defeated the conspirators, protecting the purity of the sea and the tranquility of the villagers. At the end of the story, Ling Ling and Qian Hao stood side by side on the beach. The sea breeze was blowing, and their eyes shone with the light of hope and future. Chapter 9, The Poseidon's Trial. Ling Ling and Qian Hao stepped through countless winds and waves, and finally arrived at the mysterious island shrouded in sea fog, Lanlan Island. The island is full of strange plants and ancient stone carvings, which seem to contain secrets related to the power of the sea god. As they stepped into a temple made of coral and shells, the sound of low waves suddenly sounded all around, and the air was filled with salty sea and mystery. Ling Ling felt the power in her chest vibrate, as if the sea god was personally examining her mind. A ray of light erupted from the altar in the center of the temple, creating visions of the vastness of the ocean, schools of fish, storms that sometimes fierce and sometimes subsided, and in the deepest depths, hidden the scepter of the sea god that could control the fate of the world. The sea god's voice was like a tide, only with great love and a desire to be the guardian of the ocean and all living beings can we pass the trial and gain true strength. Ling Ling took a deep breath and stepped into the trial. The trial is full of dangers and temptations. She must swim hundreds of meters deep in huge waves, avoid hidden sea beast traps, and find the mark of the sea god in the darkness. Qian Hao waited anxiously on the shore. He knew that Ling Ling's every step was not easy, but he firmly believed that Ling Ling could pass this test. Finally, in a state of unity of mind and mind, Ling Ling touched the sea god mark that emitted blue light, and the trial was successful. The power of the sea god has truly awakened, and she has become a veritable guardian of the tide. Chapter 10, Allies in Adversity. Back on the shore, Ling Ling and Qian Hao met a group of young people who also possessed special abilities. They come from different coastal towns, but they are united by a love for the ocean and a mission to protect it. Among them, there is Wind Blade, who is good at using the wind element to control the air flow, and has a cold but loyal personality, possessing a blaze of arson, with a fiery temperament but a good heart. There is also a water condensation that has the power of healing, gentle and delicate, and is the soul of the team. These people have joined forces to form the Tidal Alliance, determined to fight together against the dark forces that are encroaching on the seas. Ling Ling was elected as the leader of the alliance and shouldered the important responsibility of integrating resources and formulating strategies. With the assistance of the alliance, the seafood trade in Hiking Village has been further expanded, the villagers' lives have become better and better, and the fishing industry has begun to modernize. Chapter 11, The Dark Forces Emerge. Just when everything seemed to be calm, the shadows crept in. The group of foreign merchants who once tried to monopolize the fish market are actually supported by a larger dark force. They have secretly cultivated a group of dark wizards who control poisonous fog and illusions, in an attempt to control the entire coast. The dark wizards cast a poisonous mist at night, causing the waters of the fishing village to become cloudy, killing fish and sending the fishermen into a panic. Ling Ling and the Tidal Alliance immediately launched an investigation and discovered that the source of the poisonous fog turned out to be an abandoned undersea factory. They decide to infiltrate the factory and stop the dark wizard's plot. In the dangerous depths of the sea, Ling Ling used the awakened power of the sea god to fight fiercely against the dark wizard. Eventually, the members of the alliance worked together to destroy the factory, disperse the poisonous fog, and the ocean was clear again. Chapter 12, The Eve of the Storm. But the real storm is still brewing. The leader of the dark forces has appeared, a mysterious man, Mo Kanghai, who has a dark martial spirit that can control the tides and storms, and intends to seize Ling Ling's sea god scepter and become the true overlord of the tides. Mo Kanghai's strength was extremely powerful, and several times he challenged Ling Ling. He was in danger. Qian Hao and the Tidal Alliance continued to support Ling Ling, but they gradually realized that this battle was much more brutal than they had imagined. Mo Kanghai began to create a giant storm that invaded the coastal villages and towns, forcing Ling Ling to take an even more difficult path. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 13, The Battle of the Tide Peak. On the day of the decisive battle, the storm tore the entire sea into raging waves. Ling Ling stood at the top of the tide, holding the sea god scepter and engaged in the final duel with Mo Kanghai. The two forces are intertwined, the waves are like mountains, the lightning is like swords, and the sky and the sea seem to tremble. Ling Ling recalled the hardships along the way and the support of everyone, and his heart ignited an extremely firm faith. Unleashing all her strength, she summons the sea god's greatest power to cut through the source of the storm with a single blow. The Mokang Sea was finally defeated, the dark forces collapsed, and the sea returned to calm. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 14, A New Life After a Calm Storm. After the war, hiking village and coastal towns began to be rebuilt, and the villagers regained a stable life. Ling Ling and Qian Hao chose to open a Sea Guardian Academy in the village to teach the younger generation how to respect nature and use magical abilities to protect the ocean. The Tidal Alliance became the backbone of Sea Guardian and continued to explore the secrets of uncharted seas. Ling Ling has finally found her true identity and mission. She is no longer the fool who is despised by the villagers, but the light of hope for everyone. Chapter 15, The Unsettled Undercurrent. After the decisive battle, life in Hiking Village seems to have returned to peace, but the shadows in the shadows are still quietly moving. Ling Ling worked hard to cultivate a new generation of guardians in the academy, but found that some students had bad intentions and secretly learned the forbidden art of dark martial spirits. This undercurrent originates from the remnants of the Mokang Sea, and the goal is to regroup and take revenge. Ling Ling was anxious and uneasy. She knew that as long as the darkness was not removed, true peace would not come. Qian Hao began to investigate the missing fishermen in the village, and found that someone was secretly imprisoned in a cave in the deep sea, ready to be used as a sacrifice for the dark spirit. This discovery plunged Ling Ling and the alliance into an unprecedented crisis. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 16, The Prisoner of the Deep. Ling Ling and Qian Hao took a few members of the alliance and infiltrated the dangerous deep-sea cave. Inside the cave, it was damp and cold, the water was turbid, and the darkness was like an endless abyss that swallowed up all light. They find the imprisoned fishermen and are amazed to see that they are all engraved with mysterious runes that seem to slowly devour their life force. Ling Ling used the sea god's scepter to cast the power of purification, and the runes gradually dissipated, but at the cost of her being weakened a lot. Qian Hao took on the heavy responsibility of saving people and brought the tired fishermen back to the shore, while Ling Ling was determined to completely eradicate these dark remnants. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 17, The Covenant of the Dark Tide. In order to strengthen his defenses, Ling Ling made an alliance with the leaders of several villages and towns along the coast to jointly defend against the dark forces. Among these allies are the Sea Breeze tribe, who once had a grudge against the Mokang Sea, and they control the power of the wind, and they are vigorous and cautious. There are also deep-sea fishermen, who are good at underwater combat and coexist with marine life. Through difficult negotiations, Ling Ling broke down the old barriers and gathered unprecedented joint forces. Qian Hao also showed the talent of a leader in this process and won the respect of everyone. This alliance between the human heart and the forces of nature became a solid foundation for the future against darkness. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 18, The Bonds of the Heart. In the midst of pressure and challenges, the relationship between Ling Ling and Qian Hao became deeper and deeper. They talked to each other on a rock by the sea, and Qian Hao promised to be by Ling Ling's side no matter how big the wind and waves were in the future. Ling Ling also frankly revealed that his past days as a fool were actually a trial of fusion of soul and sea god's power. The two made a vow to protect this ocean and their home with their lives. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 19, Signs of a Storm. Suddenly, an unreasonable storm came from the far sea, inseparable from the dark power left behind by the Mokang Sea. The storm was more ferocious than ever, and even the mysterious island of Lanlan was drowned in the raging winds. Ling Ling and the Tidal Alliance mobilized with all their might, calling for the power of the sea god to meet the attack. However, she found that her abilities could not fully control the storm, and it seemed that someone was secretly controlling it. underscore 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 un. Chapter 20, The Final Mystery Revealed. As the investigation deepened, Ling Ling was shocked to discover that the mastermind behind the scenes was actually Shadow Moon, a disciple of the Mo Kanghai who was thought to have disappeared in the past. Shadow Moon once followed Mo Kanghai, but then disappeared for many years, and now has become an even more terrifying dark martial arts controller. He used the cover of the storm to seize the sea god's scepter and control the entire ocean. Ling Ling and Qianhao must face this more dangerous enemy and enter into a life and death battle. Chapter 21, Shadow Strike. The sea was swept up by a storm, thunder, and lightning, and Ling Ling and Qianhao led the members of the Tidal Alliance to track down the trail of Shadow Moon. They arrive at a hidden sea cavern that hides the base of the Shadow Moon. The cave was eerie and damp, carved with ancient runes, and the air was filled with the corrupt aura of dark martial spirits. Shadow Moon greeted the visitor coldly, his eyes as cold as the abyss, and the dark martial spirits he controlled turned into several shadows, coiling the attack. Ling Ling waved the Poseidon's scepter and summoned huge waves to fight. Qianhao and the members of the alliance each cast their martial souls, the wind blades swung out a sharp air current, the flames exploded into a fiery attack, and the water condensation used a healing technique to support. A fierce battle erupts in the narrow cavern, where the roar of the rough waves collides with the dark shadows. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 22, The Power of Losing Control. During the battle, Ling Ling tried to seal the power of the Shadow Moon with the Sea God's scepter, but unexpectedly triggered a violent reaction from the Sea God's power. Her power went viral, and the waves turned into giant spiral whirlpools, devouring the rocks of the cavern. The cave began to crumble, and the members of the alliance were forced to retreat. Qianhao struggled to rescue Ling Ling from the whirlpool, and the two supported each other between the waves and rocks, showing a deep trust and bond. This crisis made Ling Ling deeply realize the danger of power and the importance of self-control. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 23, The Experiment of the Demons. After the war, Ling Ling meditated and healed in the academy, but was troubled by his own heart. The heavy responsibilities brought by the power of the sea god make it impossible for her to calm down, and the shadows of the past and the pressures of the future are intertwined into demons. Alone, she dives into the abyss of the ocean in search of her inner answers. In the depths, she meets the phantom of the sea god, who tells her that only by truly understanding the word guard can she wield the power of the mountain. Ling Ling stabbed in the darkness, and finally broke the demons in his heart, found himself, and thus reached a new realm of Poseidon's power. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 24, Regrouping. Ling Ling returned to the academy with renewed strength and determination. She and Qianhao reintegrated the Tidal Alliance, recruited more coastal youths to join, and created a stronger guardian team. The villagers also trusted her more, and Hiking Village ushered in unprecedented prosperity and unity. However, the dark forces are not yet completely dead, and the remnants of Shadow Moon are ready to move. Ling Ling knew that after all, a decisive battle awaited her. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 25, The Tides of Fate. On the night of the harvest festival held in Hiking Village, the sky suddenly changed color. The storm of darkness struck again, this time more violently than ever. Shadow Moon leads the remnants of the remnants to carry a new army of dark spirits and approach the village. Ling Ling and Qianhao led the Tide Alliance to face each other, and this was the final decisive battle. The forces of both sides fought fiercely in the storm, and the waves and storms intertwined, and the heavens and the earth shook. Ling Ling summoned the power of the sea god and fought a desperate battle with Yingyu. On the verge of life and death, she finally realized the true meaning of strength. Protection is not only strength, but also faith and courage. Eventually, the Shadow Moon is sealed, and the forces of darkness are completely disintegrated. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 26, New Voyage. After the war, the village of Hiking was restored to tranquility again, and the Tidal Alliance became the guardian symbol of the coast. Ling Ling and Qianhao stood on the seashore, looking out at the boundless horizon. They know that the world is big and the crisis remains, but they are no longer afraid. They will continue to embark on the path of guardianship, guarding this ocean and protecting everyone who depends on this water. This is the end of the story, but the legend of protection and adventure continues.